Plateau State Governor Caleb Mofang says the recent killings in the state is sponsored and genocidal. The assailants struck in several communities in the Baucus local government area of the state, displacing many and leaving a trail of destruction behind. Muffled by the killings, the governor had linked the attacks to some unnamed terrorist groups, adding that the assault in Plateau State was being sponsored and targeted at wiping off communities in the state. Well, joining me right now is, of course, Major General Augustine Agundu. Is a former commander of Operation Safe Haven. Thank you for your time, sir.
So much. It's a pleasure having me in this program.
All right. Let's, of course, look at this killings. Drawing it way back, particularly from an angle of, your time, in the theater field. The killings in Plateau State seem to, at some point, go down, and then it comes back up again with so much intensity. Over the years, there have been several efforts and attempts to sort of, address this issue, even at reaching the root cause. But it appears like these efforts just seem to be rolling in circles. What's happening?
I didn't get your last, please.
So my question to you, sir, is, this killings, consistent killings in Plateau State, what exactly is the root cause?
Well, it's difficult to draw a line on what the root causes are because they have been there quite endemic over the years. And it's quite unfortunate that we'll go through the same problem that is being solved even in most recent times. If we date back to 2009 and up to today, in fact, we can date back to 1994. It's an age-old and age-long crisis that has unfortunately not been able to be resolved because of some perceived positions that a lot of people are holding concerning harmonious living, harmonious existence with one another. So if we're looking at the root causes of the problem, we should be looking at the settings within the Plateau State and by extension the entire North Central region. Because there are incidences whereby some people have been categorized as not being members of the society. An instance, we know of those appellages they give unto others. Some are indigenous and some are settlers. So these are the root causes of it. So once people feel that they are not inclusive, they are not part of the society, they tend to try to enforce whatever their agenda might be.
All right, let me bring into the conversation right now Mr. Solomon Dalung is the former Minister for Youth and Sports. It's a pleasure, sir. Thank you for joining. Okay, of course, once we have him, we'll definitely bring him on. But just a quick one also. You tried to give us a bit of, will I call it a description of what the root cause might have been. But let's also look at the efforts over time to sort of quell these attacks, particularly from a military standpoint. Let me give a very personal example. I remember that during my service years, because I served in Plateau State, I've said this on several platforms, and it was from 2009 to 2010, and it was during that period I witnessed one of these clashes or crises. And I remember vividly that these attackers kept evolving, even though we had strong military formation, but it looks like they were always a step ahead. So I want to ask you, from a military strategic standpoint, what are the gaps?
The gaps are obvious. We all know, every person resident on the plateau, whether indigent or whatever, we all know where the gaps are. And of course, all of us, especially for those of us in the military, we have a strong bond with Plateau State, because most of our trainings are done within the Plateau State landscape. They provide very beautiful training areas for us. And we enjoy, not to talk about the ambience. Of course, don't forget, Plateau State is home of tourism, peace and tourism. That is the appellation that the Plateau State has. But we have what we call multi-dimensional threats to peace and security, to communal living, to harmonious coexistence. These multi-dimensional threats that had lingered over the years has even caused to such an extent that people are living in segregated communities. And once you start segregating the communities, even it's as worse as even our educational system, our institutions. Now you see a situation whereby it's a particular school where it used to be a mixed school is now purely either a Christian school or a Muslim school. So this degenerated over the years, and then sowing also seeds of discord among the people. So you start looking at people differently from what it used to be. We all have very good memories of Plateau State. We all, we have absolutely very, very fond memories of Plateau State, and we do not forget that the temperature, the climate there gives us a lot of reason for us. Most people, even within our service, they retire and decide to settle in Plateau State. So where we are talking about gaps, the gaps are not there. What we have there is mainly also social disintegration of the people. So
social disintegration of the people. I'd like to stay with,
because people are segregated along ethnic and religious lines.
I'd like to stay on that. The word you said social disintegration of the people. I know I've had conversations around this where people talk about approaches to try to resolve this, kinetic approach and non-kinetic approach. I'd like you to link this with, that phrase that you use, the social disintegration of the people. How does this work?
Yes, that's why as a commander in the field, you have every options to carry out your operational mandate. So now we have kinetic approach, we have non-kinetic. We have always emphasized on this. Now it depends on you as a commander and also the variables on the ground to see which approach you are going to use to restore your operational mandate. And this is very, very germane to instituting the purpose for which you are there deployed. So once you see a situation that you see that is purely non-kinetic, and what is non, and of course in the non-kinetic, we have the soft approach, we have also the hard approach. So whatever approach that you are going to adopt to win the people to your side, to make them understand that we are here to restore, to separate belligerents and all whatnot, is going to help in instilling confidence in the people, so that the social fabrics of the family, look, it's a pity. Plateau has generated more orphans that we do not know, but there are more widows that we cannot fathom everything. And children, the situation is so palatable. If you are an indigenous of Plateau State, or if you are living there, you'll be so worried, because in some years to come, you'll be shocked that you might not have people that will fill on certain positions. There are young men 30 years old that have never known peace since they were born. And this is a social problem. It's going to bring up a greater, and each of these children that I'm talking about, they are not even in any form of any formal education. It's part of all the state government effort to encourage education, but for the fear that people are having within the state, I'm going to school, am I sure I will come back home, is creating that gap that we are also going to suffer in some years to come.
All right. There's also the issue of cases where, and this of course might not entirely be peculiar to Plateau State, but what has been observed, in some operations where some people that have been caught to have been maybe terrorists or former militants and what have you, basically, a menace to society, are picked up by security forces and then maybe later released through maybe some government program like amnesty or some political will. And this brings to the fore, the issue of this fight itself and its sincerity, where people start asking questions that shouldn't people have to pay for their crimes? And then the influence of, maybe political office holders or influential persons in society releasing these people. I'd just like you to speak on this, particularly on the psyche and the morale of soldiers in the field and what this does to the fight itself, the process itself.
You're absolutely right. What we have observed as a setback and a great setback to operational efficiency of the troops is the weak legal system. We have very weak legal system. We're still operating a system whereby there are certain offenses that are not bailable. There are certain offenses that are just like a slap on the wrist, like I've always said. Now, we are advocating, and that is what the military command is actually advocating, for special provisions, for special courts. Special court that is going to try those who are, we have a terrorism act. If you are arrested under the provision of a terrorism act, you cannot go through the normal court system. So if we are not a legal person, but if somebody is arrested in the course of like this particular quagmire that we're having today with some arrests that have been made, if they go through the normal court, they will be bailed, and these boys, they will go back into the field, into the community, to even harm those who actually pointed them out. So we have to look at our legal system to see how can we reinforce that and make it clean, because it becomes an incentive. Once somebody is a victim and you see that those who perpetrated the act have been punished appropriately, they will kind of have some respite. So we have to look as a nation, we have to look at, will it continue to be under the normal court system, or we should go through some special provisions whereby mobile courts, you tried, you found guilty, and then you're immediately jailed for a certain period of time and all whatnot. If that is not done, we'll keep on going in the same circle. All right. In the course of military operations, we have arrested a lot of people culpable in the act. But by the time you send ransom, it's as funny as having some few modes of naira as fine options. And you pay your fine options and you're back into the community where you have the community harbor before. And the worst is that they become even more hardened than before. So we have to look again, the whole social fabrics of the society, the entirety, the totality of whatever that makes a society, is what needs to come on board. It's a holistic approach that is required for us to be able to make the victims of any of this violence to know that, okay, justice has been seen, or it's been done, or otherwise.
All right, Major General Augustine Agundu, but just a quick one. We'll need to go on a quick break. Once we return, we'll definitely delve more into these issues. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Many thanks for staying with us. It's still Politics HQ on News Central Television. I still have my guest with me. Major General Augustine Agundu is a former commander of Operation Safe Haven. He joins virtually. Thank you for staying with me, sir. Now,
Thank you very much.
Yes, let's also look at the modus operandi and particularly the ammunition some of these groups use. Some of their, what I call it, hardware in terms of fighting ammunition is pretty much sophisticated. Some even have a bit of advanced training, and there have been talks around who are the sponsors of these people. Yes, they may look ragtag, but what they carry, in terms of ammunition, is pretty much not what you can just get almost anywhere. And so the question as to the sponsorship of these people, we've had cases in the past where some individuals have even come on national TV to say they know the sponsors and that there is a certain list, even though it was never made privy to Nigerians. Now, I mean, from an intelligence perspective, sir, do you think as a country we are doing enough, to not just fight, from the front end, but also at the back end in terms of tracing the sponsors of many of these groups?
Okay, now it's going to be, it's not entirely impossible to look at who the sponsors are, because certainly there are sponsors. But once you talk about weapons in the hands of non-state actors, it's one major problem. It's a national issue. And we must make deliberate effort to mop up illegal weapons that are in circulation. That is one is quite instructive. And right from the time the fall of all the Libyan government and all what, there's a lot of inflow of weapons from northwards into the southwards. So there are a lot of weapons in the hands of individuals. And again, let's not forget, we have technical institutions in Plateau State. There are technical colleges that there are ingenuity in the hands of, Plateau indigenes are generally, they are very good with their handcraft. You will be shocked that some of them can actually even locally manufacture automatic type of weapons and all whatnot. So the issue of weapons is not a new thing. It's not related to only Plateau State. But what needs to happen is to make it, even though it is there in our criminal justice system, that whoever that possesses a weapon, whoever that is not authorized to possess a weapon is accounted as a criminal. But we still have some of this influence. Now, when you talk about sponsors, you see, we must move away from holding onto our ethnic biases. Because there are instances whereby you feel that, oh, okay, my community might be attacked, or even some government officials are even making that if people can be armed themselves to defend themselves, it will not work. Because this cannot be a kind of a banana republic. Because arms in the hands of non-state actors is very dangerous. And I do not know whether that is also part of what is delaying the issue regarding, because the total modality of how the community policing thing is going to work out is also being delayed. Because we need to understand, because if we talk about at that level of community policing, that means they must bear arms. And who are these? We are the community police, means that you are going to gather people within the same community to defend or whatnot. But we have our ethnic troubles. And arms in the hands of certain persons might be, you are already arming a tool for them to commit havoc. So let us come together as a nation and be able to say, again, using the words of National Security Advisor yesterday, that enough is enough. Right. We must see all these things, that it is one death too many.
All right.
Senseless killings.
That is what is. I just want to ask a follow-up to that, Major General Agundu. I mean, you said that I mean the idea of private citizens having arms to defend themselves is a no-no because it's not a banana republic. But I'm also going to ask you this question, sir. I mean, as a commander, who of course has controlled several individuals, in the theater of battle, is how equipped would you say our security forces is? Are we properly equipped to be able to take on these maroonders in society?
Let's get something very clear. There is no army in the world that is up to 100% equipment level that they require. But in our operations, and let's not forget that what we are dealing with here is internal operations. It's internal. So we cannot arm ourselves to kill ourselves. We arm the nation, we arm the armed forces to defend the territorial integrity of the country by land.
I'm sorry to also interrupt you, sir. The reason why I'm asking this is
we
because
must come together as a society. And in whatever, in all the internal operations that we are having, if we don't have the cooperation of the society, we have said it over again, that of the whole of society approach to solving our problem. If we don't have the cooperation of the society, it's going to be actually very Herculean as a task.
Okay.
So the issue of arming, carrying arms will not solve any problem.
All right.
Take an instance. How many deaths do we have in the United States from free killings? Okay. We know the statistics. There are just so many to talk about.
Let's even move away from the idea of private citizens having arms to defend themselves. I'm still going to stay on the question of how equipped is the military, how equipped is our police, for instance, in fighting, terrorists, bandits, and what have not. Because, Nigerians know that a chunk of our budget goes to security matters, a chunk of it. So when one looks at the amount being spent and the value, one is to get, it seems not to add up. So, what is going on?
You see, with due respect, when we talk about a chunk of budget going to we don't actually understand in all sincerity what it takes to form an armed force. Now, we always think about in naira terms. Do not forget, we are not a producer nation in arms and ammunition, even though the federal government is trying to keep up with that trend. In order for us not to, we know what we went through with difficulties at the heat of a Boko Haram, that we are not getting weapons from overseas. To arm a battalion, you need to know what it entails. 88 APCs, armored personnel carriers, soft vehicles, the small arms. It's not the entire budget of Nigeria cannot arm the armed forces of Nigeria.
The entire budget of the nation is not
the government prioritizes it. So there is no nation again that have the exact quantity of weaponry that it desires to defend its nation. But gradually and progressively will be procuring in order to meet up deficits. And do not forget that some of these arms too, they have lifespan. When some nations are talking about future weaponry, we are still in the weapons of 1970. So we cannot meet up with it, but what we can do in the immediate is for us to be able to reduce the level of friction, which is man-made. We are the one causing the troubles that we are going through here in this country. Let us look at what is the immediate. Why the federal government is talking about appropriate equipment levels for the police, for the civil defense, for every other services. But as at this moment, the crux of our troubles are internally generated. It will require arms that will ask societies to live together in peace and harmony. And let's not forget, the criminals are living within the society. They are somebody's children. Parents are now reneging on their responsibilities and then passing that responsibility back to government. It will not work. So if we want to build a nation with all the great potential that we have in this nation, we should be able to put certain things aside and let us live. We have more than abundance of raw materials that are yet untapped. Imagine a situation of a total or an acceptable level of peace and security, what the federal government can do with the resources that we have at hand. So arming the military is a priority to government. Arming the civil police is a priority to government, but other aspects of governance is not going to suffer because we need to bring up the military to a certain percentage of weaponry. So it is we need to be very, very careful once we are trying to talk about the equipment levels of services in relation to other demands of state.
Major General Agundu, I'm going to still stay with you on that because, just to give us a very realistic, will I call it perspective or, eye view of the level of, will I call it empowerment in terms of arms, our security forces have. If one is to really rate it on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, how well equipped will you say they are?
Relatively, we are well equipped. We have our percentage levels. And it's not what should be. So we cannot say that because these are critical military security positions. We cannot say, but what I can tell that relatively that we are well equipped. We have the necessary appropriate manpower to also meet the desired result that we need. But that aspect remains on the military side. The society has, do not forget, is the armed forces of Nigeria. It's not the armed forces of any particular region or ethnic group. So we have a role to play. And thank God that we came back to the national anthem that we are using now, so that we can always remember that in brotherhood that we stand. Why can't we come together as a people and reason appropriately with all the level of academic prowess that we have in this country? And then we are thinking that every now and again, the only national discourse must be on security. We should be talking about development. We should be talking about countries are going into space. We should be talking about how to harness the entirety of the potential that we have, the value chain along our line of production. That's what we should be talking about. There are individuals that are causing this mayhem in order for them to say, and of course, all for personal aggrandizement. So let us be careful not to think that it is when you equip the armed forces or the security service that you're going to have. There is nothing like total peace. And do not forget, human nature is at war with itself. That's philosophically. So unless we agree as a people that we must live with one another in an acceptable level of peace and security, we keep on going around in circle.
All right, sir. Thank you so much for your time, sir. It's been a pleasure having you on the program tonight. Major General Augustine Agundu is, of course, the former commander of Operation Safe Haven. It's been a privilege having you, sir.